Welcome to the Generic Tech Support YouTube channel. A channel that remembers when books weren't the heaviest thing on shelves. Like and subscribe for more content. Hey guys, welcome to Windows 11. So we're actually in a Windows 11 environment at this point, and we're not looking at some kind of revision of Windows Debian or some kind of Linux system that's designed to look like Windows. But this is a legitimate Windows 11 desktop. Specifically, this is our Windows 11 desktop that I have built for a domain controller just for testing purposes for the help desk portion of the channel, the actual playlist. And I want to share something with you today, which is automation. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know what chocolatey is. Chocolatey is a fantastic repository. It works a lot like the apt repository, which is what brings us here. So one of the questions that had come up was, well, is there a way to do what we do with the apt-get package in Linux inside of Windows? And it's interesting because there are variables, there are various software providers that are generated through the Git repository that will allow you to actually install software in an automation or an automated fashion. However, not all of them are actually Microsoft supported. And in a Microsoft environment, usually Microsoft supported means that it will mostly work. I say mostly because if we look at Windows 11 itself, it mostly works, but I wouldn't call it, well designed or polished. So what am I talking about today? Well, specifically what I'm talking about today is an application called Winget. So it's W-I-N-G-E-T. Now, I find it as an interesting application, and it has been developed for the past probably 2 revisions, the later version of Windows 10 into Windows 11, and I believe it's still in development mode, and it's not fully supported yet, so it's not technically past alpha. I believe it's still in a developer phase. However, it does work on Windows 11, and it is kind of a cool application, so I want to share it with you today. So what you're going to need to actually duplicate what we're doing here is either a Windows 10 machine that's running at least 22, probably 22H1. You might be able to get with 20H2, I think is the first revision that's available with it. If you have the latest build version of Windows 10, this should work absolutely fine. And it should work on all versions of Windows 11. Now, since I'm not a fan of actually having the Microsoft account to access the Microsoft Store and refuse to actually sign up for it, your installation may be slightly different than mine. I prefer to use the PowerShell command to actually do the install. And when I use the PowerShell command, what that'll allow me to do is to install the Winget application. And once again, the commands will actually be in the wiki. You should be able to grab them from there. But let's throw that together here in this video. So here's the command. And specifically how this works is it's a Add-AppxPackage, then it's RegisterByFamilyName, then it's MainPackage, and then it's Microsoft.desktop app installer _ 8 W as in Wilma, E as in Edward, K as in Kilo, Y as in Yankee, B as in Bravo, 3 Delta 8 Bravo Bravo Wiki Edward. And if you run that command as admin in PowerShell, what it will do is it will install the Winget application on your local system. So let's click this, the run script, and there we go. We just installed the Winget application. Now we can actually close our PowerShell box. Okay guys, so at this point what I've done is I've rebooted the system and we just came back up. Now you'll keep in mind that the desktop background on this particular system will randomly change. It's on a slideshow setting and I don't really care one way or another, right? So with that said, so we're back in the system now, and what do we have to do? Well, what we have to do now at this point is open up CMD as admin on the local system. Now, if you don't know how to do that, all you do is click on the Start menu, type in CMD, and then you'll see it open up as command prompt here, and we're going to click Run as Administrator. And there it is. So I do want to point out one thing which is relatively important, is that while I would always suggest what you do is run Windows as a user and use an admin account as an escalation account in order to install applications, the Winget application does not allow you to do that. It requires you to be a local admin for it to work correctly. So while you can install it by running PowerShell as admin and running that command, you can't run it through CMD as admin. It will fail to launch or load the actual repository. So you'll have to be logged in as a local admin, or if you're going through like a backstage application, like through a help desk or tech support, then you'll need to actually access the system as a local administrator, not through the system account, because it still won't work correctly. So it doesn't necessarily dictate the exact same outcome as what you're going to get with an apt package. Now, the reason why is because the apt package is just so much more than a repository. It's the whole installer, it's the maintain, it's the maintenance, it's everything. And it's really more integrated into the Linux environment. Whereas the Winget application, obviously, since we just installed it, isn't really integrated into the Windows environment. Now, it does offer some really cool and fast functionality for installation processes, but it's not as good as the Linux stuff is. And quite frankly, that's nothing out of the norm. That's pretty normal at this point. Most Windows applications are not as good as the Linux ones. I know that people will argue with me and say, oh, Microsoft Outlook's so much better than the... And, you know, to some extent, you may be right, but I'll be honest with you, Evolution Mail, even Thunderbird with the plugins to run off of Office 365, I think at this point are better than the Microsoft Office. And anybody that's used the new Outlook, it's god-awful. So, I mean, realistically, if that becomes the only Outlook and people are starting to look for alternatives that work better than the Microsoft product, I'll throw a video together and run you through how to do that on a Linux system that actually works better than Outlook. Because I use an open source mail client to access my O365 for the GenericTechSupport.com YouTube channel email, and that integrates directly into Linux. I don't have to run Outlook, and quite frankly, at this point, I think it's better. It runs in an Mbox format, and Mbox, if you don't know what that is, it's the it's really the proprietary mail format for like Netscape's version of Thunderbird before Thunderbird became a thing through Mozilla. It also runs on Google's Gmail, and you could convert PST to Mbox, and you know, honestly, it just at this point it just functions better. It's a better alternative than Microsoft Office's Outlook is. But I don't want to digress too far because we want to get into the Winget and how this works. So here's the cool part of this application. Again, taking all the considerations into into mind and keeping them in mind, knowing that it's not as good as the apt program, we're going to still use it in search. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in Winget, and we're going to do search. And then we're going to say, maybe we want to search for like Chrome, like Google. So we'll type in Chrome, and we're going to hit enter. Now, once you do the search, you're going to see everything come back that is associated to Chrome. But what you're going to really want to pay attention to is the ID. Like, for instance, if we want to install Google Chrome, then this is the command that we're going to use. So we're going to do winget install. So just like the apt install application, it's winget install. Or just like on Fedora, where it's DNF install and then the application. On this particular setup, it's winget install, and then it's just google.chrome. Now, on Windows, nothing's really case sensitive, so you don't really have to worry about the case. However, in order for this to work, if it was, say, on Linux, we would need to use Google Chrome with a capital G and a capital C. It's not necessary on this. So once we do that, we're just going to hit enter. So at this point, the application's actually downloading. And once it downloads, it will install it silently in the background. All right, so there it goes. You can see now it's on the desktop as a shortcut, and it is installed. All right, cool. So we now have Google installed, right? So we're just going to clear this out so we can start on a fresh screen and see what we got working with, right? And I think what we want to do now is we want to do a search, right? So we want to use the Winget applications to search for games. You never know. Maybe there's some free games that we could play that would be worth our while on Windows. So to do that, we're just going to type in Winget, search, and games. Now, you could do that with anything, right? If you want to do it for browsers or, I don't know, just about anything out there that you could think of that's that's a category versus an actual application. Now, you could search for actual applications too, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. But let's search for a broad topic like games. So I'm going to hit enter. So there we go. These are the available games that we could download directly on this system. Now, I don't know if it requires an account once you get it downloaded. It's possible, but, you know, it does give you the options to install these things directly on the system. Now, not all of them are games. Some of them are associated to games. Like, for instance, DOSBox isn't necessarily a game, but it's an application that will allow you to run DOS-based games. And once again, if you wanted to install it, you would just grab the ID and actually install it as the ID. Now, what if we wanted to install, I don't know, Steam, right? So we could see right here, Steam is listed as valve.steam, right? So we could actually go down here and we could do another search if we wanted to and search specifically for Valve and hit enter, and it should find anything that's associated with Valve. So we have the different Steam configurations here. Here's the Valve Steam link. We could also do a search if we wanted to for just Steam, see if there's anything different comes up. And we can see there's quite a bit of things that come up through Steam because there's probably a variety of different applications that have the name Steam in them. But if we know specifically, like, maybe we don't want to install Steam, maybe we want to install Electronic Arts' stuff, right? So we could actually just do a search for EA, and likely it's going to bring back a ton of things because there's a lot of things that have EA in it. But what's the name of that thing? I think it's Origin. So we can actually search for Origin and see what we get back. Yeah, there we go. So there's Origin, which is Electronic Arts' Origin. So at this point, if we wanted to, we could do Winget install valve.steam and hit enter. And that should install Steam on the local system without having to go to the website. We just literally just punch it in and there it goes. It's downloaded, it's installed. We can see it now on the desktop. So that works. What if we want to install Origin, right? So we could just do install electronicarts.origin, or you could simply just grab it from up here, copy it, and then paste it, and then hit enter. So then once it's downloaded, it'll go through the process and install the actual package. We should see the shortcut here populate shortly on the desktop. So there is one caveat to this that doesn't work as well as it works in Linux, which is the removal. Now, while you can semi-automate the removal through the Winget process, it does not work as well as Chocolatey. So in Chocolatey, you literally could tell it to do this silently and don't bother you and yada, yada, yada. But with the Winget application, you could tell it to remove it. You could do a -- silent. You could do a -H for silence. You could do a non-interactive. You could add all the stuff you want to. It will still prompt the user to uninstall the application. Although it is less of a pain in the neck to then digging through the stupid menu system in Windows 11. So, I mean, like, you can go in here and you could say, all right, well, we just did the Electronic Arts install. We could do remove. Because, again, Winget remove, apt-get remove, apt remove, DNF remove. It's all the same style of command logic. So the Winget is really just a ripoff or a bad copy of your apt repository commands, in my opinion. Anyway, it's not quite there yet, but again, we're still in what I would call the developer phase because it hasn't been officially released as a supported option. It is Microsoft driven though. It is a project that is currently ongoing from Microsoft to actually create this process. So it may get better. It may not. It may get dropped. We never really know with Microsoft. So we're going to do the Winget remove, and you're going to see that we get the pop-up. Now, I could say cancel, and it says successfully uninstalled, but it's still here, so it didn't actually uninstall. And if I go in here and I do silent, it still prompts. If I say cancel, and it still shows as it's uninstalled. If I change this to -H for the additional silent command, it'll still prompt for the uninstall. We can cancel it, still says it's uninstalled. We can go in here again. We can add and add and add to this, telling it to stay quiet, not to do things. We can get additional information by running the help command. It doesn't make any difference. It will still always prompt with the stupid GUI in order to actually remove the application. Now, if you click uninstall, then it just uninstalls. So again, that's why I said it is a beneficial step where you don't have to dig through the add remove programs to do it. You can just run it straight from the package. But the downside is that, you know, it still prompts. So if you're trying to do this as an automated process or package to install it through a command logic or to create a build, almost like a bash script that we would have, or a playbook of some kind to do the install or removal, it just doesn't work right. Not yet anyway. Who knows? Maybe it will eventually, but right now you can't silently install everything. You can silently install some things. So if we go back in here and we look for the install that we just did for Google. Oh, let's see. So there's Google. So if we go in here and we go back and we do remove, we may or may not get a prompt. So we do get a pop-up, but as you can see, it's gone. So it does remove things. It does add things. It does give you the options. Something that would be interesting for us to test on here, which I don't know the answer to, is can we remove Microsoft Edge using the Winget command? Because technically we can't remove it for Windows 11, right? It exists and it's not a removable application. But since Microsoft's so typical with poorly developed applications, sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot. So let's take a look and see if we can actually remove Edge through the Winget command. So I think the first thing we want to do is search to see if Edge exists inside of the actual package installer, so we could get the ID name to do the uninstall if it's at all possible. So we're just going to do Winget search Edge. And we're going to search in here and see if we could find... So we have the runtime. Yeah, so we have it listed as Microsoft.Edge. And here's the question. Can we do Winget remove Microsoft Edge? Something tells me this isn't going to work, but let's give it a shot. Well, as it turns out, we can't remove Microsoft Edge through the Winget command. It was, I think, a good thought and worth a try, right? But sometimes I guess they foresee us deciding that we would like to remove certain things off the actual system. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you think Winget will have any traction in the future? Do you think Microsoft will fix the uninstall portion? Do you think it's usable now? Do you find it useful knowing that you could actually just run these commands to generate the actual install and remove the application without having to search all over the internet? Personally, I think this is the right direction for Windows to go. At least from a management or a maintenance standpoint, because it gives you the ability to install these applications without having to jump through hoops. Again, I'll leave the comments, or rather, I'll leave the commands inside the wiki location for this video, so you could search it and find it. I do want to let you know that I am building a new wiki location and a website. So hopefully once that gets built, we can move all those wiki commands straight over to its own proprietary wiki location, which would give you the ability to actually easily search for them and find them. So that way you don't have to jump through the hoops that you have to jump through now. Hopefully you enjoyed this short video, and let me know if there's anything else that I could do for you. Leave me something down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys.